Alright, and here we are with another episode of the Ashen Pages podcast. I am one of the hosts, known as the Dice Boss, and we got new song in, we got new graphics and everything, with at least a new background logo with some of the characters. We can actually know what the heck we are supposed to look like at this point, so yeah, that's always gonna be some fun stuff there. But we have myself, and then let's go ahead and get to the other co-host, starting with Shorkle. Shorkle, how are ya?
I do be here.
Should do be here, should those be here. And then we have Corvo, the sniper. Corvo, how are you doing?
I'm doing alright, I suppose. Just here.
Looking very snazzy, sounding snazzy, if anything.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. And then, of course, we got the K9 from the intergalactic stars themselves. Starside K9, how are you, my friend?
Bonjour, everybody. Good to be here once again. I figured I'd shake things up with saying hello in a different language. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but hi.
But to say, when did you start learning a different language on me, boy?
I failed Spanish, so let's not talk about that.
Oh man, you always you're the charmer. I'll tell them that much. And then of course we got Tank. Tank, how are
I woke up and chose violence.
that sounds about right. We got a person that woke up and chose le violence. You chose violence. I chose tea. Yeah.
Both equally refreshing.
Both equally refreshing. Now, before we begin with our topic on how to create unique and diverse characters regarding your tabletop role-playing game, let's start with an interesting segment, because we did post this on the recently made Twitter account that will be run to just post and share a couple of things and get people hyped up on the episodes. We're going to do a segment called Where Are They? Referring to, where the heck has Corvo been? Where have they been to? And why were they there? And so with that, let's go ahead with the image. They're familiar with what it looks like, but for what y'all are going to see on the screen here, Corvo, where the heck were you?
Well, because of Shorkle, she told me about this pretty snazzy arcade bowling alley, and I really wanted to go, but for some reason, teleporting there became an issue, and I kind of got stuck to the ceiling. So yeah, that happened. I couldn't get down, but let's just say bowling while upside down gives you some pretty good strikes, I will say.
What to say?
Is that why the fire trucks is outside that bowling alley?
We don't talk about that.
What, there was fire trucks?
No.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it.
I'm gonna... I'm just gonna...
I told you about that so you could go bowling, not to commit arson.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
I plead the...
What the fuck else do you expect? It's a
I-
fire truck.
You know how much money a disco magic actually costs?
All I have to say is I plead the fifth. That's it.
We're
Also,
banned from that establishment.
I just want to point out, as you said plead the fifth, I went back to the regular graphic thing, and there's just you with the cigarette in the hand. It just looks so perfect. It's like, I plead the fifth. Just looking nonchalant and everything.
I mean, that's how I would say it.
I mean, I picture it.
But all I have to say is this is all sponsored by Full Throttle, the energy drink. Just one sip and you piss acid. Disclaimer: this is not sponsored by Full Throttle.
We are not sponsored by Full Throttle.
You sign like a whole demon contract and sell your soul to them and everything else.
But
It's-
if you Full Throttle, if you want to sponsor me, that's cool too. Like I'm down for it. You know, like another disclaimer: you do not piss acid after drinking it. I promise. But sometimes it does feel like that. I won't lie. I need to go to a doctor, send help.
I gotta say, why do I feel like you have air quotes around that?
Ooh,
Changing of subjects. characters, right?
You can
Yeah.
quote me on that whole fucking thing. 2021. By the
Yeah.
way, quote me on that if you wish.
Yeah, I will certainly do so. And yeah, so wanna let's go
Marking
ahead
it
and
down
get.
in the transcript.
We're gonna go ahead and get into the characters concept here. So everyone wants to make a character, but sure, what about a unique character? I mean, there's barbarians. There's like the raging, I'm gonna hit stuff. There is the rogue that's in the shadows or is good at picking locks and all that kind of stuff. But what about a character outside the boundaries? Something that is different that hasn't been played before. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Before I start going to other people, I'm just going to be that basic dude and just say one of my solutions for it, if you play in Pathfinder 2e, is going with the free archetype variant rule, because of the fact that you can just make a very interesting character at that point that's not just a simple multi-class, but something with unique abilities and unique background and personal story to it. That's what I would at least just go with, just to give like a quick one for like less than a minute on my answer. But with that, what about Starside? What do you got any ideas on how to create unique and interesting characters? Tips on that, and have you had experience with that?
In my opinion, when it comes to making creative characters, I would always start with like, how would I describe this? So say you have like a favorite piece of media. What is something from that media that you want to translate into a new character? Or maybe what's something from a media you like but not as much that you want to translate into your favorite media? When I was creating Mari, I was like, okay, let's go with figured he'd be a cat folk, because like, cats are one of my favorite animals, and it'd be like, I never played a cleric before, so it'd be very interesting to try a class um that I never thought I'd play, but over time it was like, oh wow, I really like this character, I really like this class and how it rolls. And it was like, usually, if I was a younger player, I probably would have chosen probably a rogue, but I stuck with cleric and was like, all right, try something new. And at a time, I thought it was a class that no one would rarely choose, and it was just like, but when it comes to creative characters, an interesting idea is just like pull something from one of your favorite media, or do the complete opposite. If there's a media that maybe you don't like as much, maybe you could pull something from that, and then over time, as this character develops, you'll start liking this character that you've made from a media that you don't like. That's just one of my ideas that I would probably throw out there.
That's a very interesting thought there, because that's usually sometimes how it starts off with a lot of things. Is it's like, from inspiration from something like Pathfinder borrows some stuff from D&D, but I'm pretty sure there's also influence from like other mediums and like media that they kind of draw from as well. And that's also just tabletop role-playing games in general, I would think, is there is some kind of inspiration from something that they've read or maybe that they've seen something in a movie. So I dig that kind of approach there. Corvo, what about you?
Well, repeat the question. My brain is on something different.
Yes. Regarding creating a unique and diverse kind of character that's not really been played before, how would you go about doing that in a game? Or what would be like your kind of tips or advice on it?
Well, if I had to go on it, really, I think the best kind of ways that if you wanted to try it is like taking bits of your own personality and creating a character around it. Because that's what I do mostly with characters. I know many will I've taken characters from different medias before and, tried to incorporate it into characters. But somehow, some fucking way, they always end up being a piece of me instead of what I was trying to create, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, I am no writer or anything. I'm an artist, and normally when I draw, say that writing isn't an art form at all. Like, God, I wish I could write. But whenever I draw characters, I always think about like how I would picture them to be if I were them. So creating characters, I'll be like, okay, like with Molly, my
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, my orc girl, um, like she's my more feminine side, basically. What I would want to be if I was like girly, in a sense. Like that's my side of a personality, and then like I have uh Corvo, not me Corvo, but my character I played Corvo, my half orc, who has like this confidence in being okay with who they are that I would normally have at certain points. Not all the some like that, of course.
Yeah.
And then my Kono, my character in this campaign, which sad when it ends, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
um, Kono is my more masculine, very sexual, like doesn't give two shits about how people view him, and is the protective sort of type of my person.
Yeah.
So I always like to take chunks of myself and put them in character.
Yeah, well, sexual was certainly an element that is described in the character of Kono, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, like this
One of many.
One of many.
I wouldn't say many. Like, no, I wouldn't say many, because Kono has really been just the only very like out there sexual character I've made, which is like I always make sure like whenever I play this character, I don't go too far because like people have boundaries. You don't want to cross those boundaries. So like I've never tried to cross boundaries ways.
Yeah, and I think that's another key element with that is while you're trying to do that is recognize there are like some kind of boundaries or something like that, and I think it's I don't know. There's one thing I want to kind of touch on in that in a bit, but I'm gonna wait and make sure everyone gets a deal to go on. Shorky, you got any thing you wanna mention? Shorkle?
I wonder if they know they're still muted.
I'm here, don't worry. My whole setup is fucky right now. As dumb as this sounds, I use a lot of like mood boards and like music to like figure out a character. A lot of them like it's a lot of like goddamn it, like vulturing like parts from like myself and characters that I like and music and trying to do something new with it. Like obviously they're going to have a little bit of me in them because they're my characters. God, this is so hard to describe because I draw, but I'm never like told to explain it. Generally though, I feel like even if you're a first time player to like not be afraid to do things a little bit out of the box, like for example how tieflings are usually described, blue and like red and like muted skin tones and two horns, and I saw that and went, but what if I made it a unicorn and they're Celeste?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was the unicorn tiefling.
I had fun, I really think it's fun when you can take like the base rules a game can give to you and use that and turn it on its head to make something that you truly love and you truly feel connected to.
Yeah, and I remember that I could say that probably kind of touches in with what Starside had mentioned, because if I'm not mistaken, part of the influence with that was the last unicorn regarding the kind of character for that.
Yeah. she is based off of Amalthea.
Mm.
Her fun little fact on that: her color palette is actually completely colored drawn from an image from the movie.
Mm. Nice. But I mean, yeah, I mean that's where we kind of have that. It's not just the advice going back and forth and like interacting at that point there, but even like what you kind of talked about there. So next up we got, because we haven't heard from him yet, on at least his particular advice on it. Tank, how are you? What's your thoughts on this?
I want to point out there is no wrong way of making characters. No matter what you choose and how you do it, you cannot make a bad character. I personally go with making jokes with friends and making them out of characters. Because it's a lot easier to build something when you have someone else to bounce ideas off of.
So, like, especially if like there's someone that you can then ask to help you come up with a concept at that point as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with sitting down with one of your best friends and just spitballing ideas. Have them help you build a character from scratch, or just add to a pre-existing one. Because you can get great backstory advice, or great inside jokes between you and other players of the same group.
Yeah.
That's just how I do it, personally, just making jokes.
I mean, that's a good idea. I mean, I know that's how we had some interesting characters come about, is usually from jokes, and then they end up being serious. Like, I remember there was even a meme one time where someone tried to make some kind of weird... I'll get to that part in a second, though, regarding...
There's a lot of
there was a rogue clown
memes that went very dark very quickly.
Yeah.
We don't talk about those.
I'm trying to remember, because I know it was Corvus sent that meme at one point, I believe, about a joke of a character that's a pirate, clown, rogue type that has a weird name like Bozo or something like that, and people not take it seriously. But then after like probably 50 sessions into it, they're actually being like very serious and dramatic with this character. Like, oh Jesus, this is like just gone way too close to home at this point, that you connected with a character that's just a joke, but you feel and relate to it somehow, and you grow and get attached to the character. And I'm like, that.
I know there was a Solvin, the pirate clown.
Hey, he was only a clown. He was only a clown in.
I mean, he was a clown. Let's be honest. He was a hoe.
He was a tiefling.
He was a
tiefling swashbuckler who had a nice appeal to the ladies and the fellas.
He was a hoe.
Exactly. That's what I just said.
There was no nice appeal. He was like the classic textbook case of a Chad. What are you talking about?
Whatever you want to call him. You can call him Chad. You can call him sexy. Whatever your preference is. But I do want to point out, like, one of the other elements that I've tried to do is similar to what was mentioned about kind of putting your own kind of spin into it and putting a bit of yourself in there. But even doing so with some of the things that sometimes you wouldn't think. Like, for example, there's the whole one character that I'm currently trying to work on for a one-shot on Thursday, which is me playing an investigator, and there's the mixing of the whole thing from the detective show Columbo, and so it was based on having an investigator, kind of based on that, even to the point of having a glass eye like the actor had. But at the same time, what I wanted to try to do was add something that gives him sort of that knack for wanting the details and trying to focus on specific types of details. And for that, I wanted to add the issue of him being autistic involved into that, because especially of myself being on that spectrum. So I wanted to kind of have this kind of detective that has this particular kind of deal that is usually described as a disorder, and see how this then gets to be played out into the whole thing, from the glass eye to having some form of autism, and then just how he then interacts with everything into that. I think it comes off unique because not a lot of people think about, probably, like, they want to usually make like these kind of like perfect like quote a super strong or super brave kind of heroes, instead of having some characters that have like some of these kind of things that we mostly find or deal with in real life, as opposed to thinking about putting it into fantasy at that point. So I mean, I don't know. That's what I would think would be an interesting thing, is try to add into that. If anyone wants to kind of comment on that, or if they got any other ideas, floor is open.
Yeah, no, same.
Well, the only thing I have to say is I just agreed. Like, I can't.
Uh-huh.
I can't.
Totally agreed.
Okay. I give up. Alright, never mind. I'm just gonna sit in the corner and drink my full throttle. Maybe, like, just die, I guess.
Why? Are you okay?
I mean, I'll point out, like, making strong characters is good.
Yeah,
as
of
long
course.
as it's like a strong, like, this is their kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you can establish like what the weakness they have, and remember to keep that going, and not like, oh, his kryptonite is this, and then forget about it 2 sessions later. You know?
Yeah,
You
like,
make
it's a memorable thing, because the one thing that just gets under my damn skin. Actually, I think it gets under my skin more than just overpowered characters that think they're the best hot shit in the world. It's the overly fucking edgy ones that bother me the most. The ones that the only thing of substance in their backstory is, my family is dead and I want revenge. It's like, well, how did they die?
Yeah.
How do you want revenge? Like, what made, like, what attachment do you have that made, like, this said thing happen for your parents killed? Like, was it something like, you know, an accident that happened where it was just a bunch of thieves breaking in, they were caught and they killed your family, and it was part of some guild that's part of where you live, or like they were part of like some mafia or some shit, I don't know, but make it flavorful. And don't be the person that's just like, I sit in a dark corner and jerk my finger off as I stare at people.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's like that one meme where the guy's in the corner, everyone's partying. It's like, they don't know that I'm famous or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's basically
like,
that.
They keep like not naming names. I'm just saying we've played with a particular player that has done that kind of stuff, and it's not
I
just
will fully reveal his name.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Just, but I will say that there's that.
Watch that he like listens to this, by the way, and it's just like those.
Well,
bastards.
I mean, here's the thing. There's being called out on it. There's being acknowledged on it. But here's the other thing. It's not just him. There's like other people. Like you'll find like all of this in like a Reddit RPG horror story element where they do this whole edgy thing, where it's eventually kind of a notice me senpai situation where they type this out and they get like, why aren't y'all interacting with me? Number one, you're in your room. Number two, you are in the corner of a room saying that you want to be left alone. So you saying, leave me alone, but yet come find me. And number three, like, you don't interact with people.
Like, if you want someone to acknowledge your existence, make it known to the party who you are, instead of being like, you cannot know nothing about me. Puts fucking, like, cape over their face and darts away. It's like the meme with the Sailor Moon meme. I love Sailor Moon, by the way. People put me in a Sailor Moon outfit if they make fan art.
Work is done here. You didn't do anything.
And then goes away. But, actually, put us all in Sailor Scout uniforms, and I will love everyone forever. Anyway,
dear, I would look good.
God.
I would not look good at Sailor.
I don't have legs for that now.
We'll make it work. It's okay.
We'll just need to shave them, and I'm pretty sure whoever draws it will then shave the legs for you.
I bet. I call green though. Who's the green one? Jupiter.
I believe so.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jupiter.
Yeah.
I want that one.
I want to be Sailor Moon.
I don't care what you make me.
I get to be Chibi Moon because I'm small.
Yes.
Yes.
What about you, Starside?
Fucking 3 foot.
Me?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
Sailor Scout would you be?
Oh, I've never seen Sailor Moon.
Well, at least that makes you
I'm
and me.
gonna have to change your worldview. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
teleporting
boy.
over
Okay,
to
so
the
we're on time
here.
now. I haven't watched the entire series.
I'm
Right,
gonna
There's like a
sit
lot of
down,
stuff I need to watch.
wrap you with
Oh, yeah.
chains and all, and I'm gonna make you sit there. Like I'm gonna do like the whole Clockwork Orange thing where they put like the
Oh,
things
God.
on their eyes and make him
My
watch
God.
like the as you sit
You
there
gotta
and
smuggle him
scream.
out of his spaceship.
And I was told I'm the sadistic one.
I don't know what you're talking
You
about.
shut
I'm not
up!
sadistic at all.
What are you
All I
talking
do-
about?
Okay.
Look, all I do is sit in a corner in the highest peak, looking through a scope and hoping to God I hit something. I'm not that great of a shot at times, but when I am, yeah. Oh, back to the subject at hand.
Of course.
Yes.
Talking about edgy characters.
There's a right way
haven't-
and a wrong way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is a right way and a wrong way of doing it. I'm sorry if you hear growling in the background.
I'm assuming that's the
Is
doggo.
it you love
It is the doggo.
Kiba?
But like, there's those edgy characters, and I'm not saying that the character that I'm going to be playing in the next campaign is like the best character in the world, like not in any means. But he is an edgy character.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a story to him. Like he has flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like giving someone food and you didn't put any like Tonys or something in it, and you're like, here you go, eat up, and you're like, this sucks. Why does this bland? I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
give
like
you
a bland piece of like chicken. Like
Yeah.
no salt, no pepper, no cayenne, or anything. You don't want it.
Yeah.
I want sustenance. I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
You can survive with it, but it's not like no one wants it.
Yeah.
Mhm. And like how I'm going to be playing this character is that he's very angry. He doesn't like to be touched. He doesn't want to interact with anyone. He is basically a lone wolf. But the reasoning being is because of his backstory that I have, and I don't want to go into too much detail because it does cause a lot of trigger warnings behind why he is what he is. But besides that, there's reasonings for it. Not the same old, like, fucking, oh, my family's dead. Yeah, his family's dead too, but he went through a whole hell of a lot more shit that coincides with to the reasoning why this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it's just, that's his only plot.
Yeah.
If there's more plot point to the character, whether it's, like, edgy or happy or sad or some other stuff, have sustenance to it, because then gives the DM something to work with. You don't
Mhm.
even have to put a lot. Put enough to where it just chef's kiss. Gives them something to work with. Y'all can collab with it and make the story better, but it
Mhm.
gives something instead
Yeah.
of nothing.
Yeah.
And like, hell, even if you're the one person that's like, oh, my character's family is alive and thriving, they're happy, they just wanted to go out and adventure, that's fucking fantastic. I love that. What kind of family did you have? What was the background before you became an adventurer? Give me the
something.
delicious sustenance, because you're wanting to do this, and I am proud of that. I'm glad you had this idea. Just give me more to roll with, and we have a story, Mike.
And that helps out there, and that works. The one thing I want to comment on is, like, because I could see, like, like, that's the thing. Like, that could apply to most other elements regarding, sustenance on more than just simply just being the simple basic edgelord type, and to play edge in a kind of right way. The one thing that I find sometimes that is what's interesting, especially ever since I came across this particular deal, is the utilization of representation in a certain interesting way. When we're talking about, like, the issue about, gender, sexuality, and all that kind of stuff that is involved is, especially in, I believe the best case in the first time we got introduced to this game was Corvo. In that regard, the half-orc, because transgender, and then had an interesting development of a character as a result of this, from the pronouns, and then eventually how the appearance even was. Like, I look back from the first time you like posted the picture of them, and then eventually I'm looking at it now in their supposed, like, or what they are, their actual, like, now later times, especially during the timeline of the second campaign, and I'm just like, now this is freaking character development on a whole new level, where they're almost not as recognizable as when you first met them. Like, they've grown, they've matured, they've experienced a growth in power and strength, and I'm just like, wow.
It's just like with Tala, how like her character developed too. Like, she was, I think if I remember correctly, her character was like very timid, soft-spoken, like, you know, and a follower of Shaylin. But then throughout the progression,
Desna, I believe, actually. Huh? Desna. It was Mari that was the Shaylin cleric.
It was the
I thought she was Shaylin.
No, but she will be a Shaylin one. Yeah, but she will be Shaylin in this next one.
Yeah. But like, how she went from that to becoming the champion. Oh, it was Desna. There we go.
Yep.
She became the champion of Desna. Kick-ass character in all general aspects, and then became basically the ruler of her kingdom and the protector of it, I believe.
Yeah, it was mostly the protector. There was still the queen that was ruling, but she'd be sort of that second in command, that kind of ruler that guards after the forests and everything.
Yeah. But you knew what I was going with that.
Oh yeah, but like, because here's the thing where I say this is like, because there are some.
I was probably off topic, by the way.
Well, it kind of helps in with my point there as well, though, because some people, like, I don't know. There's like some shows I've seen these days that when they try to do like representation of gay characters or transgender
I totally
people.
Went off topic.
No, you're good. Like I said, it kind of helped me out a bit, honestly.
Well,
but
it kind of includes with like female characters, because sometimes they're always seen as like the weaker side of things. Like, depending on groups, I'm not saying it's full on, but this is a community where it does happen a lot.
But like, here's the thing: is that it gets too much to the point that it's usually just crammed in, just so it can have a slapped-on label to say, hey, look, we just have this type of character, we're being inclusive and all that sort of stuff. And to me, it's like a little bit of what we had mentioned earlier, like especially when you talk about the edgelord kind of element. Just because someone's gay or transgender and you just say, oh, I'm this, you know. To me, it doesn't do a lot of justice. It's just simply have that been slapped on there, and then you just kind of just briefly go about it, but there's no real development into why exactly it is they go with that notion. Like, for example, and I hate to do this by the naming of it, but that one Crunchyroll show with the particular deal there, a lot of people felt disrespected from how it just casually planted it in there, and some people even tried going back and rewriting the lines and the scene, and how it went from just being a 30-second explanation to a whole 2 minutes that actually put heart and development into it, that honestly, if it had audio to it, it felt had more emotion to it. And when I've read
what Crunchyroll show though,
the Spice Guardian one, yeah. But then I'm like,
I don't know what
but then I looked into, like, especially the Paizo ones. Like, for example, there is a transgender character in the lore of it, a dwarf shaman, and what they did was for that is that it going into by the time they became a shaman, they were kind of exploring the element that she had within her soul, and that when she made that connection into the soul, it basically did the transformation of the body to the point that it went from, as the words of the lore says, that day this quote family lost a son and gained a daughter, and talked about how it was difficult for the family to accept it at first, but eventually did, as she kept growing and growing, and then she's still in some of the lore of the comics and the story, and everything like that, which should be interesting if they introduce the shaman in the second edition and they put her in as that one of the iconic ones that is the face and the representation of it for that class. I do hope they try to bring the shaman back, especially that particular character. But that's the thing, it's like, it's not just, hey, it's just transgender. There's a story and an element into that. Even when I played asexual characters like Zoroth, for example, like, there is a degree in which I kind of go with that it's not just, well, he's ace. There's a reason why he's like that. Literally, pain is the one thing that excites him, and he'll date people, but his literal reason is that he finds no satisfaction in anything except in the notion of pain. And so that's kind of what happens, especially if someone asks him about what he's into. It's just, he just wants to talk about pain. He's not interested in anything else at that point. It's a very scary, weird concept that came for him on that.
Also, if any like people that you join in, like if you join in like a random group of people that are like, you know, playing D&D and stuff, or Pathfinder, or whichever cup of tea that they sip from, and they tell you that you cannot play this character or like any of that garbo, leave immediately, because like, it's a fantasy game, for Christ's sake.
Pretty
and
much.
Like, you're telling me that you cannot be like a transgender or just anything part of the LGBTQ, like, at all.
Don't be a snowflake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Now, I will say this. The only time I'll say something like that is on the occasion when someone asks, could I play a literal carton of milk? I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to homebrew that? Because I am trying to...
yeah.
I could show you how to do it. I have a snap box full of milk. I have a snap box full of potted plant.
God.
Like, I've done this type of stuff before.
If there's anyone watching it, they can find a way to homebrew an ancestry to be just a carton of milk, please let me know in the comments.
I could do that.
I know you could, but I'm curious to see how other people can do it as well, because that'll be a thing.
Yeah.
And I will play it.
Kind of funny.
I will be the first person. We're just gonna have a whole party of a carton of milks that just walk into a tavern.
I call being strawberry milk.
There you go. That's our heritage. Is different
Why?
flavors.
Why? I was literally about to pick that.
Well, too bad.
I will be almond.
It's skim milk.
See, we're coming up with ideas.
And we will be called the spoiled side squad.
Wow.
I hate.
Oh my god.
That's amazing.
Well, I think that's a perfect note.
Spoiled side squad.
I think that'd be a perfect note to end this particular episode.
Can we make that our next campaign name?
I mean, I could say our next one shot. We could just like that way we could test it out. I was like, what do we do
No,
next?
man, the whole
Well, the whole campaign. I'm just gonna say this. It probably might be easy to die. Like, first ever fight. Y'all are trying to fight a bunch of hands, trying to reach for y'all and grab some milk.
He needs some milk.
Alright, so thank y'all all for tuning in, and we'll hope to see y'all next time with the topic that we will discuss. Until then, y'all take care, courtesy of the Ashen Pages.